Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Well, we've got an interesting reel here. We're going to ask, what good is it, right? It's lost the attachment to the reel seat. The arm is broken off. That's not an uncommon thing, particularly with a lot of these older reels that were cast reels. They get dropped and the arm breaks off, and well, that's that. Well, what good is this reel? This reel's good as an education piece, as a tuition piece. We're going to take a look at it. I don't think I've ever seen a reel that was this reel. This is a Phantom Miraclecast, model B250. I haven't done any research to find out who made the reel, but the reel is pretty much kind of emblematic of the 60s. Kind of, this looks like a bail that would be something you would see on a Mitchell type of a reel, or that era. And it seems to, for the most part, seems to work. It turns, and the handle turns and that. You can see I'm turning it, but you can't go fishing, of course, because you can't attach it. There's things wrong with it. This trip lever, well, that's way out of bounds. It should be straight, not bent down. But I want to see what the gears are inside of it, take a lesson in that, and kind of put it in the back of my mind for, well, either when I get to work on another Phantom Miraclecast, or just generally when you see a design of a particular reel and maybe you're unfamiliar with it, you can say, gee, I remember I took this other reel apart and it kind of looks similar, and I got to know how that works, and that'll help you as you go to work through the next reel. So I always encourage you to pick up reels that are inexpensive. This one was sent in to me by Bobby. He just had it in the back of his box. But we're going to learn from this one, and that's what this reel is good for. So let's take this apart and we'll get an idea of the design, how it works, what makes this thing go, and see if there's anything unique inside that. One of the things that's kind of unique is that seems to be a nylon drag top adjuster. You have a spool here that's held in by a snap ring. That's a little unusual. Most of the time it's just one of these pyramid clip rings. But a lot of the time this tells you the age of the reel and well, where that reel was made. Of course, we don't know where the reel was made because it's usually stamped on the reel foot. That's gone. All right, inside this one we have basically a traditional rotor type of an assembly. You're going to open up your bail. If this was a level piece, it would snap into that groove in the bail here. Let's see if I can see this manually. I can't. And that would set this bail arm underneath to be tripped by a ramp on the lever here. Let's see if we can accelerate this, move this up. This reel does have a little bit of a wobble in the rotor, and this has a rotor nut on it, so chances are that rotor nut has worked itself loose. Let's go inside the case and we'll see what the design of the reel is. We're not going to fix this reel, of course, because, well, you can't mount it anywhere. But what we can learn from is the design and what it might involve in terms of fixing it for another time. These reels are generally simple. Does not have anything protruding from this side, so that says that we have a single bushing on this side, a main gear, and we'll have a crosswind gear hanging off of that axle shaft. It'll make it go up and down. So a lot of the Mitchells were that way. You can look to, say, the 300, the 302, the 306, those kinds of reels. And they're all driven from the one side, and none of them have ball bearings. Okay, let's remove the cap, and that's kind of what I thought we would see. Now, we've got a very heavily greased reel here. It's dried grease, which is all dirt and debris and the like. You can see it's all just coagulated. I call those grease-choked reels. And if we were going to work on this from a service and a repair standpoint, well, the first thing you want to do is take this anti-reverse off. That way, make sure that it spins forward. That's on. Take it off so that it can spin both ways, and then you can remove the main gear. That'll give you a look underneath. So this is your anti-reverse dog. This is the cam that when you turn it to the other side, this flat part is going to come and enable this to go in, and that's going to hook into the back of the drive here. That's your anti-reverse stop or cog there. And then to reset it to the off position, you move it out. Now, why did I tell you to move that to the off position before removing the main gear? Well, it's not so much for the removal of the main gear as it is for when it's time to reinstall. If you have that in the on position when you go to reinstall, you're going to trap that in the reel itself, and you won't be able to get that main gear all the way down. And then chances are you're going to knock that off. Now, this one's screwed in, so it doesn't look like it's going to get knocked off. But on a lot of reels, it's just simply sitting on a post with a spring, not a screw. You'll knock that off, and then you'll struggle with getting that back on. So always make sure that that dog is disengaged when you go to remove or insert the reel. So this one would just simply reinsert. If you were servicing the reel, you would want to take the time to clean it up, more so than I did. Grease the shaft. There's a bushing on this side, and that would set in just like that. On this side of the reel, again, very simple in design and manufacture. This one has a crossline block that's held in place by two small screws. I don't know if we're going to be able to get those screws out. Take a micro driver here. We might be able to. First one is out. This is a good place to tell you if you're working on a reel like this, even if it's an educational thing. If you're working on a reel like this, make sure that you take pictures. Because a lot of times you're not going to be able to find the schematic, you're not going to be able to find the part, and then you're kind of stuck with the reel itself. All right, two screws come out. We can remove the axle shaft. As I did mention, this is got a wobble to it, which means that that rotor nut is loose or not fully tightened down. I'm just trying to clean this up so we can get a look at that. And then let's see if I can find a appropriate deep socket to take that off. I want to remove this to show you what's underneath, explain a little bit about this. Again, this is about a tuition reel, so it's a learning experience. You don't need to fix this one. You're missing a handle, you're missing an arm, you're missing some other things. It's not going fishing again, but you do learn from these. All right, remove the rotor nut, pull up on that, and we can see that it's pretty straightforward here. Kind of wondering what's holding this in. Okay, so we can slide this pinion gear up. Notice that there's a groove on the one side that's facing up, and you could, if you were servicing the reel, continue to clean the rest of this. You would put that pinion gear back in. That's what's going to drive the main gear. And underneath this is very much, well, like the reels of the time. It's a fixed head. This has the two studs that are going to grip the slots in that pinion gear to drive it. And then, as I mentioned up top here, normally when you set this, you're going to pull this trip lever out, and that's going to hit a ramp. You can see how this is moving. That's going to hit a ramp on this right here. That's going to trip that and push that back in. All right, so we learned a little bit about the design of this reel. It's interesting. I haven't seen that design before. I'm going to catalog that for one day when I may have a reel that shows up in a shop like that. I like the components in it. Well, the cast case, well, even the Mitchells broke their reel arms there, so that's kind of unfortunate. And let's just go over, we'll take a quick look at this spool, and we'll see what they did inside the spool here as kind of a last learning experience. So what is this reel good for? It's good for education. All right, this has a snap ring in it. I think I have my snap ring pliers over here somewhere. There's a snap ring pliers, so you can pull that to get an idea of what's going on inside. The snap ring pliers has 2 pins on it. They anchor in each one of these. Simply pull in on it to compress that, hold it because these things can fly, and that'll give us access to the drag system. If I was to guess, I'm going to say there's cork washers in here. Underneath you have a tension washer, much like you would see on a Mitchell 300. Yep, we got a big cork washer, and we have a big metal washer. That's the first one in. Then we have what appears to be a leather washer, a very thin leather washer. Again, we're not repairing this, we're not cleaning this or anything, we're just trying to figure out what makes this one go. It's a leather washer, you would grease that, and a metal one. So one of the things we know about this reel is it does not have a lot of max drag. It only has that single component in there, and max drag is a function of surface area of the drags, so you just don't have a lot. Use that snap ring pliers to put that back in place. And I'm going to reassemble a reel, but I don't think we need to spend time on it here. And I'm going to put the crosswind blocks back on, button this up, and just kind of put it in a parts bin. Who knows, maybe one of these days another reel like this will come in where a part is needed. I hope you've enjoyed that. I encourage you to go out and find what I call the tuition reels. Take them apart, grow in your understanding of how the reel was made. Try to dissect the mechanics behind it so that you understand what goes left and right and up and down on this. And if you do, you're going to be much more successful and find the art of reel repair a lot easier. So I would encourage you to do that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, and everybody that is working on our behalf to keep us out of harm's way. And I want to thank you, the viewers, for making this channel what it is. I appreciate your comments, your commentary, your questions, and, well, your viewing in general. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody fun times on the water and a great day in general. Thanks for watching.